one thing in common. We want this...
Inside the Oval Office, a political fever dream came to life. Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani, two men who've spent months trading insults, suddenly talking about zoning laws and immigration raids like old allies. So what cracked in that room? And why did a sworn critic walk out saying they agree on a lot more than expected? Last Friday at the White House, something unusual happened. President Donald Trump sat down with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani for nearly an hour. This wasn't just any meeting between a president and an incoming mayor. These two men have spent months trading insults. Trump repeatedly and falsely called Mamdani a communist. Mamdani has been equally blunt about his views on the president. But on this particular day in Washington, they found themselves talking about real estate, zoning codes, electricity rates, and how to build more housing in America's largest city. According to CNN sources familiar with the meeting, Mamdani arrived at the West Wing with three top aides: his senior advisor Maurice Katz, Press Secretary Dora Pekech, and Chief of Staff Ella Biscard-Church walked with him through the corridors of power. When it came time to enter the Oval Office itself, only Biscard-Church was allowed inside. There, Trump waited with his own Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles.
Our conversation focused on New York City, and I think that is a point of shared focus. A point of shared admiration for the city that we both call home, and a city that is in danger of becoming a museum where working people once were.
That phrase captures something both men seem to agree on. New York is changing, and not everyone thinks it's for the better. After their discussion, Trump took Mamdani on a tour. They walked into the cabinet room, which looks out over the Rose Garden, now paved over. Inside that room hangs a portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The two men posed in front of it. Trump flashed his signature thumbs up and smiled broadly. Mamdani clasped his hands together and offered a faint smile. Three New Yorkers, the photograph seemed to say, who have each shaken up politics in their own way. When cameras were allowed into the room, Trump was surprisingly warm. Sitting at his desk with Mamdani standing beside him, the president said,
You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have.
Trump later posted on Truth Social, writing,
It was a great honor meeting Zohran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City.
Mamdani explained his approach to CNN, saying,
I can only take one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time. All I hoped to do in that conversation was to establish a working relationship and to have a productive meeting that focused on the work itself, focused on the people that many of the two of us know, and people across these 5 boroughs that we never met.
But beneath the pleasantries, serious issues were being discussed. Immigration came up, and it had to. Federal officers have been increasingly visible across New York City. Immigrant communities are on edge. Advocates report more apprehensions and targeted operations. Organizations have started handing out pamphlets explaining people's rights. Some have even organized citizen patrols to spot immigration and customs enforcement activity and warn those who might be at risk. New York operates as a sanctuary city. Under those rules, local law enforcement only has to work with federal agencies on immigration matters when people convicted of violent or serious crimes are involved. Mamdani told Trump that New York City law enforcement is ready to collaborate with the federal government, but only within those existing parameters.
The concern comes from beyond those crimes. The many New Yorkers who are being arrested, they're being detained, they're being deported for the crime of showing up to a regular court appearance at 26 Federal Plaza for the crime of simply being present in New York City.
Trump has made it clear he doesn't think immigration enforcement has gone far enough. When asked about officers violently detaining people in courtrooms and on city streets, he suggested more action was needed, not less. On November 22nd, though, he seemed to soften his stance slightly. He told reporters he would only send federal reinforcements into New York City if the city needs it. Whether that represents a genuine shift or just a temporary retreat is unclear. Mamdani wouldn't say whether Trump agreed with his position on immigration enforcement. He told CNN,
I'll let the president speak for himself, but I did make very clear that our focus comes back to public safety, knowing that there may be disagreements between the president and myself, and there will continue to be, and I will always make the case for each and every person that calls the city home.
After the November 21st meeting, Mamdani spent the weekend in Washington. That evening, he stopped at a Palestinian restaurant in Virginia for dinner. The mayor-elect has been a fierce critic of the Israeli government, and that choice of restaurant seemed deliberate. By November 23rd, he was back in New York, speaking to the congregation at Union Grove Missionary Baptist Church in the Bronx. He told them,
My responsibility is to work, and to do that work means to work with anyone, means to work with those who are opposed to my candidacy, work with those who belong to a different party, work with those with whom I hold deep disagreements.
But working with Trump doesn't mean Mamdani has changed his mind about him. So here we are. A mayor-elect who thinks the president is a fascist just spent an hour with him discussing how to help New York City. They smiled for photos. They found common ground on housing and electricity rates. And then, Mamdani went on national television and repeated his harshest criticisms. This is what governing looks like now. Not agreement, not even mutual respect necessarily, but a willingness to sit in the same room and try to solve problems while fundamental disagreements remain unresolved.